But as pressure mounts on Canada to release evidence of this claim that they've made, the bombshell claim made on the first day of Parliament, to better understand what the opposition in Canada is saying, we have with us Honourable Thomas Mulcair, former leader of the opposition in Canada, who's currently a professor at the University of Montreal and a political commentator. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on NDTV. Now, Justin Trudeau's polling numbers are pretty bad right now. His sliding popularity in polls is evident. And with a backdrop of a rising cost of living crisis, as Rupa Subramania was just pointing out, would you say the sudden escalation due to the domestic compulsions, it's because of the domestic compulsions that Justin Trudeau faces?
Well, Parmeshwar, that is a very valid question, and it is one that is being asked a lot here in Canada. Because when Mr. Trudeau made this announcement on Monday, it was the opening day of Parliament, and of course, he was expecting tough questioning. So when you let off a bombshell like this, you suck out all of the air of the opposition parties, and this becomes the only issue. And so it was a bombshell announcement. Mr. Trudeau did it in a very theatrical manner, and it caught all of the attention of every microphone and camera in Canada. And it almost distracted from the fundamental nature of the discussion that has to be had about diaspora communities and how the Canadian government has reacted in the past and what's expected in the international order and respecting the rule of law, both here at home and abroad. So the very strong reaction that we've been hearing from the Indian government was not unexpected, given the gravity of what is being said. But what's interesting is that what we've been getting back and the information that is coming out now tends to show that the government of India is saying, you've been mollycoddling terrorists and people who are dangerous for us. And nobody seems, on the public record at least, and in the interviews that are being reported privately, to deny that the Indian government might have had a hand. So it's a very delicate and serious situation that deserves proper consideration from two countries that are in the Commonwealth, have a long history together, working together, and both respect democracy and the rule of law, although that can sometimes be tense on both sides.
Right, it was a bombshell announcement indeed, Mr. Mulcair. But now as pressure mounts on Canada to release evidence, media reports actually indicate that the government is believed to be in possession of intelligence linking Indian officials and diplomats to the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. So why isn't it being shared?
Well, that's another very good question. So the information that you've just correctly quoted is in the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation's website, and online today, and I'm sure in the reports. It seems quite detailed, and it seems obviously to have been given to them by a government source. CBC belongs to the Canadian government. It's state television, state-owned television. They'll try to argue that they don't have any special bias or connection to the government, but having been in a party other than Mr. Trudeau's Liberal Party, I can tell you that sometimes that can be strained somewhat. So yes, I mean, they were given obvious information. It does appear to be quite deep. At the beginning, the Five Eyes allies, so Canada is in a group called the Five Eyes. That would be Great Britain, United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. There seemed to be a rather tepid response to Canada's initial announcement about this, although now they seem to be, perhaps having shared some of the intelligence available, they do seem to be taking the side of, look, this is not possible. We have a way of talking to each other and working with each other. This can't be part of the game plan. An extrajudicial killing in another Commonwealth country that would have had any sort of connection to another government. So that's where things stand right now. I think that Mr. Trudeau has been trying to lower the temperature after that big announcement on Monday that he didn't try to hold back on. And when he was in New York, for example, this week, he was saying, well, I'm not going to say anything more about the information we have, but clearly somebody in his government has been leaking it because this wasn't discovered walking around. It's obviously something that comes from the government.
Well, Mr. Mulcair, thank you so much for joining us on NDTV.